and welcome to Raesworld. Guys, your girl, I don't know what that was, what was that? I don't know. Your girl has turned 30. The big 30, 30 years old. So I thought, flipping heck, I've learned so much the last decade. And I have to make a video about this. I've got 10 things, 10 big lessons that I learned in the decade of my 20s, and it was so hard to pick just 10. I've got so many things. So we're just gonna keep it brief. But guys, I felt so emotional about going into my 30s because my 20s, your 20s are just wild, aren't they? They're just wild and you're young and free. Oh my goodness, you go through so much in your 20s and it feels like maybe that you won't ever have your youth again, but actually no. When I've had chats with people, even in their 80s, they say in their heart they're still young, but it just felt like a big thing turning 30. Yes, let's do it. Okay. The first thing I have learned is to keep God's presence your biggest dream in your life, which marries with the Bible verse we all know very well: seek first the kingdom and then everything else will flow from that place. I got to live in California for 2 years of my 20s, which is a beautiful time, and I studied the Bible. One whisper that I just felt from God as I was going home was, Ray, keep my presence the #1 dream. And that has kept me going. That's been an anchor for me. When I go after all the things in life and Jesus is like below on the priority list, I actually get really stressed and anxious, and God knows with me like that. He knows that he needs to be our God. He's our #1. No idols, no gods above him. And everything will flow from that place. Everything. Who you're going to marry, your friendships, your peace of mind, your spiritual life, where God is leading you in terms of ministry, work, location, big decisions, all of these things, everything flows from simply putting Jesus first. That was a big life lesson for me in regards to my faith, because I definitely did my early 20s without putting Jesus first, and when I started to put him first, it was a drastic change in my life. The second massive thing I learned in regards to my faith in my 20s was how to be in solitude and silence. In my early 20s, I didn't have any silence in my life. I always had plans. I'd be out every night. I'd be with someone, with people, with friends, 24/7. And don't get me wrong, my personality is very outgoing. I love being around people all the time. Even when I'm having downtime, I love to just have someone in the room. And that is my personality. But God was like, Ray, baby, we need to learn how to be content in your own company. So I did. I went on a sort of a love yourself journey of just getting to know Ray and who she was, and actually I started spending time in silence every day and just time alone, and it's really uncomfortable at first, because the thing is, when you don't have silence and solitude in your life, it pushes down issues that you need to address and you need to grow in and you need to allow to the light. When you're busy, you can't really grow, because you need that time of reflection, and there's something about carving out time for solitude, and it gives us a chance to reflect on our lives. So I have time in solitude now every Saturday on a Sabbath day, and I have to have it now. I don't do very well without that time, and that really brought a lot of peace and clarity in my life. Number 3, so a couple of ones about life in general. I learned there's no point in beating yourself up. Honestly, there's no point in condemning yourself, being really, really hard on yourself, going down a shame spiral. Be a best friend to yourself. Talk to yourself like you talk to your best mate. The next big life lesson I learned: be humble or be humbled. God doesn't like pride. He really doesn't like pride, and you've got to stay humble. It's something I learned. Be humble. It's really important. We're going to go on to romance now. Number 5. Don't get back with your ex. Don't get back with your ex. Enough said. Number 6, in the topic of romance, what you sow in your single season, you will reap a harvest in your marriage. I learned, I am very grateful. When I look back, God took me into a single season before I met my husband, and holy, holy, holy did I need that single season. And actually, I look back and I just wish that I was more content when I was single, because God can do so much groundwork in your life then. When let me say that there's going to be mistakes, we need a lot of grace on ourselves. Going to my previous point, don't beat yourself up. But you are like a really powerful person, and the decisions that you make today will of course affect your tomorrow and your down the line. So yeah, a big one that I learned, you reap what you sow. So let's go on to friendships now. Number 7 is every single person on this planet is so deserving of good friendships. Receive love from your friends. You're so worthy. I am. You. Everybody is so worthy of having good friendships that are faithful, that are kind, that you laugh with, that you grow with, that aren't jealous or critical of you. They don't put you down. You know the whole list thing that we write for like about our future wife or husband? Have that about your mates as well. Like really, you deserve good friends. And this goes on to the second thing I learned, that if you allow God into your friendships and who you're friends with, he will guide you in your friendships, okay? In the same way he will guide you to meeting the person that you're gonna marry, he will guide you in your friendships. He's got good wholesome people for you. If you've got any friends, this is a whole topic, isn't it, in itself? If you've got any friends that make you feel really bad about yourself, they're not very kind to you, or you feel a lot of anxiety or on eggshells, some friends you need to persevere and stick with them when they're going for a hard time. But then there are other people where, no, actually, this is really making me feel terrible, this friendship. And you give these things to God, he has an incredible way of dealing with these situations, sometimes moving people out of your life. So there is space for good people to come in. Friendship is a really big thing that God cares about, and I believe that God wants us to be in beautiful relationships. No relationship is perfect. By no means. We all mess up, we all make mistakes, we all need grace, but God has got good relationships for you. He doesn't want you to be in a bad thing. So yeah, big one that I learned in my 20s, God's guidance in relationship. He will give you discernment, he will give you eyes to see. In number 9, we're nearly there guys, we're nearly there. Number 9, just a couple of pearls of wisdom. This quote, very well known, this too shall pass. And there was something in just 22-year-old Ray that really resonated with that, and I've always kept that. I've always kept that quote. This too shall pass. Well, if you're going through a really hard thing, it will pass. And in my 20s, I went through one particular season of depression. And it was the kind of depression where I really didn't have any joy. I've always been a very joyful person, so I also had to deal with the disappointment of going through depression, because I'd never gone through it like this before, and it was the kind of depression where there was just no joy at all, and I couldn't eat the little things that would normally bring me joy. I just didn't feel any joy. It was like I was completely numb. I didn't feel any hope, and my biggest fear was that I would never get through it. I was going through a very difficult health situation at the time, which was linked to the depression, and I had also never had a health crisis before, so that challenged my faith, because I thought, you know, I'm only in my 20s and I'm going through this big health thing right now. This is shaking my foundations. And I got through it. And in that time, I felt like there was no light at the end of the tunnel. There's a phrase called dark night of the soul, when you go through like just a really dark night of the soul, and that was my dark night of the soul. And you know, God willing, I don't go through that again, but I might. This is what I mean, the point before, stay humble, because life can throw some things at you that you're not ready for. And I definitely went through that, and it was incredibly difficult. But I got through the depression, so I'm not depressed anymore. I have a heart full of joy, I have a lot of hope, and I'm so grateful I got through that. So whatever you are going through right now, any hopeless situation, you will get through it. It will pass. This too shall pass. You might be going through a breakup, you might be going through grief, some loss. It will pass. It will pass. It's going to get easier. It's going to get better. Life can just be so hard sometimes, so hard, and we just have to trust God in those times. I mean, that's a big point, isn't it? Trusting God with absolutely everything. Massive life lesson. And the last point is to face my fears. Face your fears. I learned you've got to face your fears. You've got to feel the fear and do it anyway. That thing you really want to do, but it really scares you, feel the fear and do it anyway. I mean, don't flipping, you know, jump off a cliff, moving to another country, putting yourself out there, going after the dream, the thing that God has put on your heart for you to do. Go and do it, feel the fear and do it anyway. And do you know what? Be yourself. We all know that's a classic thing you probably would have expected anyone to say about what they learned in their 20s. But seriously, don't give a toast about what people think about you. It's not your problem what people think about you. I mean, you know what that's like as a Christian even. It's, you know, being someone who unapologetically loves Jesus can be hard sometimes. But you know what? Even if you feel anxious about being who you are and having a faith, etc., just stand on your 2 feet, stand up strong and be yourself. Because when you're yourself, I love the phrase, your vibe attracts your tribe. You will bring the right people into your life by being yourself. Say goodbye to people pleasing. I learned in my 20s, people pleasing is a massive waste of energy. I struggled with that. For a season, especially one particular season in my 20s, and I was actually hanging out in the wrong crowd. That's why I felt that. And and in your 20s, you'll have friends that you're friends for life. You know, I know who my girls are, and they'll always be in my life. And there are some friends that are seasonal, and there are friends, best friends, that are yet to come, or that, you know, you might be building a relationship with right now, and you don't know they're going to be one of your bestest friends. So just be open in your friendships and always listen to God. I think God will always speak to you about the people in your life. I'm going way back onto my other point now. So those are some of the things I learned as a 30-year-old from my decade of 20s. And it's been a good time. It's been great. I have travelled, met my husband, I had a baby. I went through depression, health challenges, the hardest times. I studied theology. I came back to Jesus. I've had some wild encounters with God. I moved cities. I've seen, I could just go on and on. And yeah, I think that's it. Guys. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and I suppose I'll see you in my next video. Peace, love, and I will see you in my next video.